Hey free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. So today we are going to take a look at Shadowfire, and I think this is going to be the most relevant to a lot of you guys because by now you guys have been farming Chronos 10 like crazy, right? So I'm sure you have a lot of additional War Machine relics that is just like lying everywhere, right? So like for example my Liling, he's full of War Machine as well. The Mona that I'm using, she's also full of War Machine, and a lot of these relics would do with a lot of upgrades that come directly from Shadowfire. So without further ado, let's quickly go through Shadowfire. He's pretty similar to Shadow Gale in terms of his general kit, but there is only one main difference. Okay, so in Shadow Gale, the catch is to cleanse debuffs, right, and to buff yourself as much as you can. That is the catch. But for Shadowfire, the catch is that, so he summons 6, I'm not sure why it says 8 over here, or maybe it's 8 and it's probably not 6, I'm not sure, but and after you kill them, that's when you get additional petals. So the Fiery Eyes also have uneven HP, so they all don't have the same HP, which means that there is a lot of DPS check throughout this entire fight, and we'll go through in more detail. And obviously Shadow Prayer over here, he is immune to all debuffs as well. And when the enemy doesn't have any Espers on the front line, the back line enemies take more damage. So I'm going to show you two different strategies. This is the first one. It's going to be a more free-to-play comp, but you're going to see that there are some Espers over here who is almost essential and almost compulsory. And obviously you're looking at Clara here, and the best replacement for Clara is going to be a Hengre. Basically anything that gives you enough heal. So maybe even a Changpu helps. Anything that heals would be good enough because that's the main focus for Clara's position over here, and the reason why I'm using her is because I do not have any relics on my Hengre. I'm not lying. I am not lying about this. Okay, so let's start, and we are going to take a look at the skill set of Shadowfire over here. This is not going to perform as well as the later team that I'm going to show, which is going to be the more pay-to-win comp. So basically it's the same thing, right? The lower the enemy's defense, the more damage he does at the start, which is this skill over here. It's just a single damage nuke, that's it. And then there is Flutter Wings, attacks all enemies, deals most damage to the front line. And then Flame Wheel, this is when he summons the Fiery Eyes. And then after that, he does more damage, blah blah blah. And Burning Dust Storm, basically when he uses this skill, after his stunning phase is over, he will explode all the remaining Fiery Eyes, which deals damage to your entire team. So we're going to take a look at that in just a bit. But he's going to use his summoning skill very soon. What's it called? Flame Light Wheel. So let's take a look at this. So what you notice is that the AI is actually smart enough to not use their AoE attacks until now. Okay, so now is when the AI is like, oh, I can use my AoE attack. So that's when you start seeing the Water or Letha, whatever, Altar, right? All the AoEs are just dropping right now, and Mona as well. She's going to use her Luna Hail, although she did use her second skill at the start. So right now, we have almost taken out all of them, which is pretty cool. If we can increase our DPS a little bit somehow, we would be able to take out all of them. And there is only one remaining, which we are probably not going to be able to deal with. But this is as good as my relics can handle right now. And there you go. That would be 14 times multiplier. But this is obviously not the best. We can definitely do a lot better. And honestly, you can completely replace Gabriel. I don't even think Gabriel is that good over here. But the thing is, there are very few Espers that work really well, and there is a huge reason why I'm not using Chloe over here, even though some players do use her. And you can use Donna as well. Donna is perfectly fine. Now, the reason why I don't use Chloe is because there is a lot of speed that you require on Chloe in order to speed tune your team perfectly so that she uses her third skill again on the stage where the boss summons his Fiery Eyes. That is when you need her to AoE. But the thing is, her AI is not smart enough to understand that her third skill and second skill can be treated as AoE. And you cannot target the Fiery Eyes manually as well. You can only target the boss, which means that you need to only use AoE Espers, or you speed tune it perfectly. So the thing is, the boss has 180 speed, which means that your Chloe, if you really want her to use her second or third skill at the stage where the Fiery Eyes exist, then you need at least 200 overspeed on your Chloe, which is insane. It's almost not that viable in my opinion. Now, this is the slightly more pay-to-win comp, and the reason why I say this is more pay-to-win is because we have Zora here and we have Lin Xiao here. That's about it. Other than that, it is not incredibly pay-to-win. Now, obviously, we are also using Clara here, but the thing is, Clara can be replaced by Hengre and all that. I'm repeating myself for the second time in this video. Now, the reason why I prefer using Zora here over Mona is because she has a lot more attack power in her leader buff, which is going to help us clear the ads a little bit faster and a little bit more efficiently as well. And definitely a little bit more regularly, because sometimes RNG doesn't work in your favor and you're not always able to clear everything. Maybe you might leave out like 1 or 2 of the ads on the field, which would affect your multiplier. Now, obviously, Lin Xiao is going to be super good here because she's going to conserve her AoE until the ads drop, and that's when she lands an AoE defense break, which is going to help so much in your DPS. But there is one thing that you must take note of. So you must understand that the boss has 180 speed, right? So you don't necessarily want to overshoot 180 speed on your Lin Xiao because you want her to take a turn after the boss has used his summoning ability. So after the boss has summoned everything, that's when you want Lin Xiao to use her third skill, which means that your Lin Xiao has to be slightly slower than the boss. But of course, this is complicated a little bit because I'm using Clara over here who AP pushes a little bit. But all in all, as long as your Lin Xiao moves after the boss, you're okay. Now, do take note that my Lin Xiao has 176 speed, and that's super important because I need my Liling to be slightly slower. So my Liling is currently at 171. So what happens is after Lin Xiao uses her AoE attack, Liling is then going to follow up with his AoE attack. So that's very important speed tuning over there. And as for Zora, honestly, this is like the most brain dead Esper ever. So she can have any kind of speed and it will always be fine because she always lands AoE attacks. So for example, on her third skill, she's going to bounce into her first skill, and on her second skill, she's going to bounce into her first skill. There is always going to be AoE damage. Okay, so let's start. Hopefully we get a better score. But something to take note of is I feel like Zora's kit is currently bugged. Like her third skill isn't really recognized as an AoE attack for some reason, so she's actually using it before Shadowfire actually summoned his ads, which is something that you might want to consider. Ideally, you might want to make her super slow. She's not going to be able to use her third skill so early on, but I don't know if that's even possible. So let's take a look at how this works. Well, I mean, apart from Zora, you can definitely use Mona. I think Mona is still a really good core Esper for this particular floor. Now, when the boss summons all his ads, you're going to see a lot of magic happening. Number one, Jiangman is going to go crazy with her AoE attack, so just take a look at this. Nether Bloom everywhere, right? And then Lin Xiao is going to use her AoE defense break. Fantastic. And here comes Alta. Boom, 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 boom. A lot of the Espers are already like getting popped over here. And there you go. So that's a complete cleave. This is all the ads destroyed, and therefore we have full petals. We have completed the flower. Fantastic. So this is going to be easily a triple S scoring over here. I mean, well, clearly the goal is to have all 6 petals. But like I said earlier, I don't think that the other shadow bosses would really require 6 petals except for Shadowfire. So here we are just going to deal as much damage as we can, and everything will be multiplied by 18 times, and that's basically it. However, like I said earlier, if you are going to be like, you know, truly free to play, you do not have like Lin Xiao, you don't have Zora, you can definitely opt for any AoE options that you have, as long as, well, hopefully they are not wind types, right? If they're wind types, they're probably not going to be very relevant, especially since you're going to miss half the time, especially on the ads, so that's something to consider. That's why I'm not using Lu Yi over here. And that's also why I may not recommend using Tang Xuan because of how irregular he can be, but he still does quite a lot of AoE attacks. So there you go. That is easily triple S. So I think 4 million is probably the benchmark of a triple S team. And like someone shared before, I think you have to kill the boss. Like essentially this needs to happen. You need to survive his last hit in order for your A+ to translate into a triple S. So that's basically it. What did we get? Attack flat. Nice. Fantastic. Now the thing is, you may not necessarily be able to obtain triple S right now. You may only be able to obtain an S or maybe even up to a double S, which is really good. Now the thing is, you do not necessarily need to get a triple S right now because this is why you are farming this particular boss. You are trying to get more of these boost stones, which will improve your damage over time, which will improve your stats over time as well. And that's how you progress from a single S to a double S to a triple S without having to go through all the farming that, like, let's say the beta players had to go through in order to obtain like a triple S score over here. So hopefully this video was helpful for you. If it was, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, it really helps the channel, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now this has been Daddy Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video. Oh, before I forget, here are the stats of all of my Espers. Not gonna lie, this is kind of weird with me just going through my Espers without talking, even though I'm essentially talking to myself all the time. And of course, I'm not going to forget about the Gabriel and the Mona currently on my bench. But honestly, I do feel like Mona is currently a little bit stronger than Zora. I'm not exactly sure why, even though she's not skilled up at all. But I do feel like she performs a little bit better in Shadowfire than Zora.